Joel, I don't know how long we have been saying on this channel that we want Mana Crypt reprinted. It has been years.
This is one of the most powerful and scarce cards in MTG all time, period. It just is. That's what it is. And the price reflects that. Most people can't afford it. But look, we're getting a reprint. We're getting 8,000 different versions of the new card.
Whoa, 7.
Okay,
but
7.
Still, maybe 9. Who knows?
Let's look at all 7 versions of Mana Crypt, the history of where this card came from, and at the end, we're going to tell you what our target price is for this card. Let's go!
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Greensleeves. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. Yeah, that's Greensleeves on the cover. I'm pretty sure, or it's a bad guy. I don't know. We're going to tell you how this connects to Mana Crypt. Back in the day, if you were wandering through a bookstore, the fantasy section in like the mid-90s, you may have run across a book called Magic the Gathering. There were a bunch of different titles in this series from this publisher, but the one specifically entitled Final Sacrifice, it looked like this.
Sacrifice.
That's right. When you looked at it up close, you'd see this little yellow bubble here. Special offer. 1 free unique card with purchase. Okay, so does that mean it was like slid into the book? Look at this special offer. 1 free unique card with purchase. See inside for details. You got some cards here. You got a card called Arena right here. You got a card you can't even read the title of right here, but they're offering, you know, for this $5 book, they're also offering a special unique card. So what you do is you open up the book, and on the inside you fill out this little survey here, which needs to know how old you are and if you're male or female, apparently. And
wow, shout out to Hastings.
Yeah, shout out to Hastings.
That's a throwback. I remember Hastings.
Yeah,
R.I.P. Okay.
Right, R.I.P. Hastings. R.I.P. brick and mortar stores in general. But
jeez,
if you put this filled out in a stamped self-addressed envelope and a proof of purchase, absolutely no phone queries, mail it to Harper Prism, they would mail you a card. And every one of these books had, except for one, had a specific card that you got when you mailed in the voucher for that book. And for this book, Final Sacrifice, if you filled out your little survey, you fold this up, you shove all this stuff in an envelope, you get your mom or dad to fire it off, Harper Prism is going to mail you back a Mana Crypt, Jake, straight up. That's all you had to do to get one. Why is everybody complaining about Mana Crypt being hard to get? You just mail this into the publisher and you can get a copy of this card.
Because so much has happened since then, namely the format commander. As you can see with this card, we got 2 bannings. It's banned in Legacy, it's banned in Oathbreaker, and it's not legal in anything else other than Vintage and Commander. Vintage is known for being one of the most expensive formats ever. Barely anybody plays it. If you want to play it and you're not a whale or you don't have all of those cards from when the game first came out, then you just need to proxy the entire format. So generally speaking, when we're talking about Mana Crypt, we're talking about a commander card. And when we're talking about 7 new versions of the card coming out in Ixalan, upcoming Ixalan, it kind of tells me like they're trying to get a lot of Mana Crypt on the market. It is kind of crazy when you look back and you really don't, you know, at the time, Mana Crypt was probably just, you know, a pretty basic card. You know, not a lot of people really cared for it. You mail in, you get this special card that comes from a book, but otherwise, this card probably sat in a binder for a long time until it found something to do.
I mean, it probably played in some combo decks, but look at it through the lens of back then. You're getting lightning bolted to your face. Everything's one-on-one then. There is no commander. So you're getting lightning bolted every turn. You're basically taking 1.5 damage per turn just to have the Mana Crypt. And you also had Mana Burn as a possible rule back then. And so, yeah, I could see it not being the most desirable card back then, but it sure is now.
We've been talking about this card for a very long time, Joel, as we mentioned at the top of this video. This is a card that every single time like a new big pushed commander set comes out, we're always just like, well, is this one going to bring Mana Crypt? Are we going to get Mana Crypt in Commander Masters? Are we going to get Mana Crypt in Double Masters 2022? Well, the thing is the last time we got this card, we should kind of talk about, there's a lot of different things to cover, but one of the things that we should talk about is the variant era, which has kind of exploded since Throne of Eldraine. So the last time we got Mana Crypt was Double Masters regular Double Masters, the original. That was in August of 2020, and we got 2 versions of the card. We got foil, the regular and foil version, but then we also got this beautiful Ron Spencer version of the card. Really cool, very pimp version. But when you think about it, the variant era started with Throne of Eldraine in late 2019, Double Masters in August of 2020, relatively early in the variant era. Now we have Secret Lair. We have all of these different products that come out. Every single collector product has etched versions, full art versions, all that stuff, right? We know that. So it's really interesting when you think, okay, this card that is very expensive, the last time it was reprinted was before all of these variants. And now when it is getting reprinted, it is getting all of the printings.
Right.
All of them.
So to put this neon ink thing in a little bit of context before we jump back and continue on the history of this card, neon ink Hidetsugu is where we've seen this out in the wild before. We've seen a Secret Lair, but that follows different rules and different collectability and pricing. Out in the wild neon ink, we've seen one time on the neon ink Hidetsugu, and there were 4 different versions of that card than the base copy. You had your red, your green, your blue, and your yellow right across the top row there. These are the current prices you're seeing now: $1,080, $22, $24. Those are a far cry from where these cards were when the hype was insane. Green was over $200-300, right, Jake?
Yeah, let's take a look at the chart and see if we could kind of see what the chart has done.
Even within a year, it's gone from 220 down to just 100.
That says to me so much about, you know, and we did talk about this, you know, the economy is kind of in a downturn right now. There is overprinting, which we talk about sometimes. You also have, I know that we talk about this product, but 30th anniversary edition, which really rubbed a lot of collectors the wrong way. Let us have it in the comments. We know that some of you like to be like, yeah, take that, collectors. But that really is what's happening right now. All of these people that bought these cards thinking, oh, they're going to appreciate in price. Well, look at it now. I mean, that's a pretty big knife down on red, right? I mean, from 1650, if you were holding this card at 1650, you're probably kind of kicking yourself right now going, oh God, you know, I could have sold it at 1650 and then rebought it $1,000. But this is just big adjustments. We have economic adjustments. We have adjustments related to variants and reprints.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of different factors to consider. Now, you mentioned this before, Joel, when we were talking, but Mana Crypt is massively different and massively better than Hidetsugu Devouring Chaos,
massively,
right?
Yeah. We're
it's not even a different realm of basically one of these is an amazing playable card and the other one is pretty much trash.
This was what I did on stream. I had my arms from the frame to the frame and I said, this is how far apart these cards are in playability. And so we're not trying to draw a line from these cards' prices to what we think the prices of these neon ink or Cosmium ink versions are going to be. They're going to be in a different tier. All I'm trying to do is say, look at the difference, look at the range in price between the highest and the lowest version of this, and know that with 6 versions and then the base copy version, that sort of range at Mana Crypt tier pricing is still going to exist.
Right. I mean, let's take a look really quick here as well at the Kaladesh version, which came out in September of 2016. Now, this is the masterpiece version of the card. In this card, even a card that came out in 2016 has gone through a big adjustment in price. So really do need to kind of take all of these prices with a grain of salt and remember that this has a lot to do with many other factors than just reprints and stuff. There are people that are liquidating their collectibles right now, and we're getting adjustments in price, and these cards are finding their footing in a more realistic world. That's just an opinion. That's not a fact. Nothing on this channel is financial advice. We're just taking all of these different factors, trying to like push them together and figure out, you know, where's the price of this card going to land, which again, we are going to talk about at the end.
Yeah, but Jake is right. What we're trying to do is really provide the most full context that we possibly can on one of the best reprints of the year and maybe of the past few years.
and probably for the next upcoming few years, right?
Exactly. There's just no way that a card like this sees another reprint, and this is going to stay up there with your Jeweled Lotuses and with your, I mean, I would have said some of the tutors back in the day, but they've absolutely printed those into the dirt. And so those aren't even in this same echelon anymore. Free counter spells, variants of free counter spells, I think are kind of playing in the same arena, same tier as these kinds of cards. But yeah, this is in a whole different class of reprint. Jake, do you want to take it all the way back to our first reprint, true reprint after the buy a book?
Yeah.
The buy a book promo. There's a new one for you.
So you had the book version of the card.
Yeah.
This card, from what I can remember, I'm trying to time travel back to how I felt when I saw the Eternal Masters version of this card. And I'm pretty sure the way that I felt when I saw it get reprinted in Eternal Masters, which was June 10th of 2016, was the first time that it put the card on the map for me. This was the first time that I really heard about the card. I do remember Mana Crypt being a card that people had talked about playing in Commander, but the price of it was so expensive because it hadn't had a reprint that it was just a card that nobody really played. It was pretty obscure. But this set, Eternal Masters in June of 2016, put the card on the map. And then shortly after that, and this was a big deal. This was a big deal when this card got reprinted. I remember people going crazy. They were like, oh my gosh, Eternal Masters has Force of Will.
Yeah, I mean,
it has Mana Crypt, it has Sylvan Library.
Yeah, I was
just
about to say, if you want to contextualize that set, here is that
for the time.
Right, for the time. Now look, Jace the Mind Sculptor is a $20 card now. It wasn't a $20 card at the time, but for the time, right. I mean, even still, my boomer brain still looks at this list of cards right here, and I'm like, this is the most stacked set I've ever seen.
4-string, 4-stem leather belt.
Yeah, dude.
Level
my
18.
Brain still does that when I see this group of cards, and so so for context of that time, we were just like, oh my god, Eternal Masters.
Absolutely beautiful, sexy lineup of cards. Amazing lineup of cards. But I'm sure that many of you who looks at that lineup, you're going, wait, so many of these have been reprinted. Yeah. Sylvan Library was in Commander Collection Green. Jace the Mind Sculptor is reprinted pretty much all the time,
Dak
right?
Faden's now a $10 Planeswalker.
Dak Faden, yeah. Dak Faden in Conspiracy before it got the reprint was like a $30 to $50 card non-foil.
Right.
So many things have changed. Many things have changed. But these old sets, or we should talk about Kaladesh, then we got it in Kaladesh. Yep. So if Eternal Masters came out in June 10th, 2016, then we get Kaladesh in September of 2016, and we get the super pimp version. It only exists in draft boxes. Those are the only kind of boxes at the time. There are no set, there are no collector, there is no other product.
Crazy to think about now.
Crazy to think about now. But these cards appeared like golden tickets in regular draft boxes. You could open a draft pack and find one of these, and you were winning the lottery, baby. It felt great. I always remember opening a Sword of Fire and Ice in my pre-release kit and being able to play that on a flyer in a pre-release was just absolutely busted and broken. So like anybody opening a Mana Crypt, anybody opening a Soul Ring, playing that in a pre-release, it was a very special thing. And because of Commander, it gave so much value to these cards in the long term. When Mana Crypt first came out, it was a $300 card, but you can see on this chart, it appreciated to almost $1,000. I remember some versions of this card selling for above $1,000 that were in very good condition. Then we get Mystery Booster years later. So we're talking about 2016. We get Mystery Booster in 2020, retail version, March of 2020. Finally, we get a reprint of this card, and it appears in the retail Mystery Booster box, which those boxes were selling for under 100 when they first came out. Amazing product. It provided like a chaos draft for people. People loved it. And you can pull a Mana Crypt in it. What's not to love? You're opening a box that's under $100 and Mana Crypt is an option. So we get a pretty good, meaningful reprint of it there. But then we also get the big reprint, which is Double Masters. We get the Ron Spencer version. We get finally a reprint of the one that came from Eternal Masters, the art that came out of Eternal Masters. But since then, Commander has only grown in popularity. And because this card hasn't been reprinted, here we are with an expensive card And now Wizards of the Coast is cashing in, and they're cashing in a big way.
Yeah, I want to emphasize, y'all, that this is appearing in a brand new slot to Magic the Gathering, definitely to us, called Special Guests. They have now decided that all they have to do is call the set within a set, which you've seen before as like Expeditions, you've seen it as Masterpieces, you've seen it as Mystical Archive, you've seen it as Enchanted Tales most recently. They are like, nah, we don't have to do that. We can do this for every set and just call it Special Guests. This slot is going to appear in collector boosters. Duh. Y'all, this slot is also going to appear in set boosters. We've got the price of set booster display right here, Lost Caverns of Ixalan. You're going to be possibly opening Mana Crypts in a $123 box, and I'm promising you right now, this price is still hype priced. These are going to come down over the next couple of months, definitely.
I mean, that's right. You know, when you're reprinting something and you're giving it all these different versions, and we should clarify, set boosters, you can only get the non-foil. Collector boosters will have the option of finding the foil version of Mana Crypt.
Sure, but you can open a Mana Crypt in a set booster of Caverns of Ixalan.
Exactly. So you're getting a non-foil version of a card, which you know is going to be nice and flat as a board. So you don't even have to complain about that.
Man, it's a nice playable card. Gone.
A playable Mana Crypt.
It's wild to me that in a year where we got Dominaria Remastered, we got Commander Masters, we got Lord of the Rings, which could have had a special card anywhere in there, it's popping up in a special guest slot of Caverns of Ixalan. It's just
which is new.
Right. It's right. But we obviously never could have called it because it's brand new, but it's just wild to me that this is where it's popping up and not any of the other 8 places we were like, yeah, maybe here over the past 2 or 3 years.
The thing about the special guest is that is going to be something where we have to see how that works out.
Yep.
Since this is something that we haven't seen before, we can't really make an exact prediction on this. Is Mana Crypt going to be just one card in this slot, and is it going to be extremely difficult to find? Or is it going to be like a Multiverse Legend slot or like Mystical Archive or any of these other sets within a set, and Mana Crypt is going to appear a lot? I mean, cards like Ragavan went through extreme price adjustments. Now, that did have to do with format that Ragavan is in, but Mana Crypt, if it's getting all these different versions, I can only believe that Wizards of the Coast is trying to get these out there, incentivize people to go out and buy this set, and these are going to be popping up frequently. That's kind of how I feel about this.
I have to agree with you. So far we've seen this one, and I believe Lord of Atlantis, a legendary merfolk or something, but the exact quote, and I'm reading this from my notes again, the exact quote from Wizards is that the special guest slot is confirmed to be in every set going forward, and it will feature powerful Masters release level reprints featuring art in the aesthetic of the set. They have just straight up come out and said, we will be putting Masters level reprints into every single set moving forward, period. And I don't think people are talking about it enough.
No card is safe. There doesn't need to be any sort of thematic reason to put it into a set. You can just reprint it. This is a reprint that I'm really happy about. This is a card that I shed all my versions whenever they get really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we are going to talk about where this price of this card is going to go, but I do want to reemphasize a couple things. The first thing that we already talked about is that a lot has happened since Double Masters when this card first or last was reprinted, which was in August of 2020. We are in 2023, years later, getting a reprint of the card. And unlike Double Masters, where the card got a regular foil and then the Ron Spencer version, this card is getting a lot of reprints. The other thing I wanted to say one more time is that these old sets that do have Mana Crypt in them that we've talked about, Double Masters, Mystery Booster, Kaladesh, not so much because that was already a lottery card. So I don't see the price of Kaladesh moving much. But Eternal Masters, Mystery Booster, Double Masters, Mana Crypt is like the flagship card of those sets. So this reprint is not going to bode well the price of those sets. Now, it might not move the needle a lot on the box, but it is going to kill the estimated value of those products, especially if Mana Crypt does go through a big price adjustment. And then the other thing that Joel and I talked about, which was, what does this massive reprint say about the future of Mana Crypt? And that is that it is probably not getting banned in Commander.
Probably already wasn't, just because, and this is a huge discussion for its own video, but there'd be a lot of dominoes that have to fall all at the same time for cards like Mana Crypt and Soul Ring to get banned, because it would cause a wider discussions to just kind of spin out of control. But yes, this is probably a good indicator that this card will be around for the long haul, but hopefully this is going to push the price down into an affordable range, so that if you want a Mana Crypt, subscribe to the channel, jump into the 30%. 70% of you watching are not subbed, but 30% of you are. Thanks to the 30. If you want to jump in and be part of the 30%, subscribe, because it'll tell you when we get a video coming out called "The Best Time to Pick Up Mana Crypt is Now," and it'll have me and Jake on the thumbnail with like pumped fists.
Or something.
And it'll be specifically about picking up this card at the best possible time, which we will definitely be making a video about in the next 3 to 6 months. Hopeful that that happens sooner.
I hope so as well. The way that I feel about this, because we should talk about kind of like where the target is, and I'm going to tell you where my target price for this card would be, and it's at a big old $80, baby.
$80.
Big adjustment to come. I think we will smash through that $100 price, and I think we will get into the $80 to $100 range for a while. I know that some of you have been like, Mana Crypt doesn't dip that much. Well, Mana Crypt is about to get reprinted 7 times minimum.
So
there are going to be more versions of it.
Yeah, let's put that in context. 7 December 2020, this card has just been reprinted in Double Masters with a base, a foil, and a showcase foil. So four versions.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, price gets down as low as $82, $80. Yep, I'm seeing like $80.70 there right before Thanksgiving 2020. I don't think it's unfeasible unless this slot is just like completely unlike everything we've ever seen. And this is, they're like, neon red ink was 0.004. This one's 0.00004, bitches.
Oh, God.
And that is the rarity where it starts for the rarest one. I'd be like, all right, and they're trying to control it a little bit. But it also seems like, they want these most expensive artifacts to have base copies that are between 80 and 100. That's what they've basically valued Jeweled Lotus at with the last reprint. And so they're giving enough versions to get that price down in the temporary. And they're like, all right, we gave you a window. Here's your window. Pick it up. We reprinted it. Go ahead. 3 or 4 years pass. This is just going to go up naturally. Grab it now. So the window is about to open for Mana Crypt. And it seems like if the volume is the indicator here, that it's not out of the question for it to live in this before it starts jumping up and people are like, oh crap, I forgot to buy a Mana Crypt, and it goes rank.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We're gonna have a ton of hype around this set, folks. We got Jurassic Park. We didn't even talk about Jurassic Park, and we're not going to.
No, I've got a video on the channel. I did it on the last stream. It's literally over an hour going through every single detail of what we know about Lost Caverns of Ixalan so far. Go watch it if you haven't. We cover all of that there. But yeah, this set is deep. This set is stacked.
Deep hype. Deep hype. Big hype.
Literally everything that they can inject into it, they're just like, let's go end the year strong.
It really does come down to that end of year quarter, a way like, what do we want to do at the end of this year?
The answer to this year was everything. All of it.
Everything.
We'll do it all.
We're going to do Jurassic Park. We have a Secret Lair that just came out that has Creep Show art and a bunch of old horror movies from like Evil Dead. We're not talking about any of that today because there's just so much to talk about just with the Mana Crypt reprint. Again, for me, not financial advice, $80 is going to be my initial price. I overestimated with cards like Scalding Tarn, cards like Misty Rainforest when Modern Horizons 2 was reprinted. I said I would buy those around 40s, and you can look at Scalding Tarn and you can see what's happened to its price.
Teens now?
They are not in the teens, but we're in like low 20s on some of the blue fetch lands. And so when you start to see
15.
prices massive,
Modern Horizons 2 Scalding Tarn, $15.
massive, insane adjustments. It has happened to fetch lands. I promise you it can and it will happen to Mana Crypt.
Yeah.
This is the time. It is a beautiful time to be a player in MTG. Joel, maybe they're just trying to make Commander a more fast format. They're trying to speed that thing up to where people are just all fast mana and we're just speeding through games, baby.
Yeah, it is kind of a huge discussion. It really is, because I could talk about that for 45 minutes about Commander theory and what we should be doing with the ban list and what they're doing with reprints. But look, Mana Crypt. In my dream, I'm like, get down to $50, get down to $50, get down to $50, and I'll just snap one of these up. It'll be so quick for me. I'll be like, yep, good, thank you. I got my Mana Crypt, moving on. But look, if you're watching this video right now, I need you to get down into the comments and let us know if you want 17, 17A, 17B, 17C, 17D, 17E, or 17F of the new Mana Crypt reprint. Because that's a real thing that I just said in a Magic the Gathering video in 2023. Jake, anything else? I think I'm tapped out. We've really covered Mana Crypt at length.
We said things. Let us know what we missed, if we missed anything. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and we're going to be on to the next video trying to figure out how we're going to cover all of this news.